In this session, I want to take a look at manually tracing fonts. You know, working in screen printing and promotional products, we often get client supplied art and it's really poor quality imagery. And we can see that these fonts here are very low quality bitmaps. And to be honest with you, quite frequently when I deal with these, I'll just go ahead and trace them automatically because I don't want to spend the time trying to figure out what font it was. I just want to cover some of the techniques that I use because very often I've seen that what folks will do is automatically go to the Bezier tool and start trying to trace manually the font, like you can see here, and working this way. But I found for myself that works better is actually using a shapes strategy. So the first thing I'll do is I'll look at a font and I'll do some analysis. And you see here up on top where I've got font, and down here I put the GUCS so we could look at some more difficult traces, and then we've got some different lettering down here. And the first thing I do is I just make analysis. What am I dealing with? Well, here with this font I'm dealing with end caps all over the place, so I'm going to want to be aware of that when I'm doing the tracing manually. And then here I can see the N and the U are identical, the L are going to be identical, and the Y is going to be, this is going to be a very easy font to trace. This one a little bit more difficult, but not too much if you understand how to work with shapes in CorelDRAW and how to use them when you're doing your font tracing. So to get started here, with the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and start with the top here on the F. And instead of working with the Bezier tool, I'll start right out with the rectangle tool over here. And the first thing I'll do is I'll make a rectangle and I'll just create that coming down right about, say, to the middle. Now, because of the poor quality of the rendering and the anti-aliasing, I really don't know where this pixel would have been. So usually I'll shoot kind of for the middle, because I know that's going to be good enough. I'll right click and change that to a red so you can see that. And then I'll create another rectangle here at the bottom, and I'll start here and I'll go out this way. And I'll go ahead and release right there, right about in the middle of that pixel. And we'll go ahead and right click and change that to a red. Now I'm going to select both of these, holding down my shift key. I'm just going to hit the C key to center these. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and weld these up here under the properties bar. Then I'll get my shape tool, which is right here beneath the pick tool. If you roll that out, it's the first one. You can roll out with the little arrow over here to the left. With the shape tool selected, I'll come over here and I'll double click on the line right here. And I'll double click here and that'll become straight. But then I can right click on the line segment, change that to a curve, and then I can just bring this down and have this down also. And now I've got that end cap on there. Now in this case, because this is nice and clean, I'm not going to really want to use this over here. So I can go ahead and do something like select this rectangle tool, make another rectangle, select both of these, and then select up here back minus front. Then bring this over here to where the end would be, and then just mirror that up here into the properties bar horizontally, and you can see that, and I can bring that right in here. And then I can select both of these holding down shift, and then I can go up here into the properties bar and select weld. And there I've got an end cap. Now that I'm going to want to duplicate and keep. Now I'll go ahead here and I can just take my nose with the shape tool that I've got up here at the top. If I want to, I can delete these just so I won't have to deal with them. Right click and on the line segment and change that to a line. Select both of these nodes and then start pulling up. Hold down the control key on the keyboard. That'll constrain them and bring them all the way up to the top here. Now once again, working with the end cap that I made, I'll duplicate that. Left click, hold down, start moving, right click one time. That'll duplicate that. Go ahead and select that and then start rotating. Hold down the control key to constrain that, and I can move that around. And then I can bring that over here, say to the front of the F, mirror that horizontally, and I can see that the size is going to be significantly smaller, so I can bring that down in size, move that over here, and there's the top of the S. And if I want to bring that down even more in size, I can. Once again, go ahead and grab my nose, left click, and pull all the way back to here. Now looking at the top of the F, I can see that I've got the end cap there again. So actually what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just reduce this a little bit in size. Bring this down to say right about there. I'll take this and then I'll start rotating this again and I'll duplicate that again also. And what I did is actually, let me show you what I did here. I started rotating, holding down Control, right click one time. Now I'm rotating and duplicating at the same time. Then I can bring this over here, put it right into there. I can select this line segment of the F that's down here at the bottom and hit the L key to align that to the left. Then I can deselect, reselect that, select the top of the S, hit the T key to align it to the top. And what did I do there? I see the top of the end caps there, so I don't want to do that. So if I do want to align this perfectly, so I don't have any problems with the line, I can very simply take this, copy this, paste this. I'll change the outline of this to blue, create another rectangle, as you can see there, and then I'll go ahead and select the blue rectangle, come up here to back minus front. With that selected, now go ahead, click off, click this, click the blue, and then click the T, and that'll move that, and then delete that, and now I've got everything all lined up perfectly. I can take this part of the F, bring it back down here, line it up, go ahead and get my node tool, my shape tool, and then just bring this back into the body here. Now there's all the parts of the F put together. Now I'll go ahead and select everything here and duplicate it just in case I need any of these parts. Then I'll lasso everything again. I'll zoom in, take a close look. I can see I could probably make this a little bit smaller, so I'll bring this down just a bit here and a bit there. And you can see the shape being lined up there. And then I'll just go ahead and lasso everything, come up here and click in the properties bar on the weld key, and I have a perfect F, as you can see right there. Now for the O, very simple. I'll take and I've actually got shaping turned on here, so I'm going to go to Tools, I'm going to go to Options. I'll show you a few things here. I don't like to work with snapping. Some people do, I don't, so I'm going to deselect all. Another thing I want to show you is when you're working with your zooming in Corel, and I'm working a lot with my center mouse wheel, zoom pan, I've got this set to center when zooming in and out. Now if I don't have that set on, when I zoom in and out, you can see that I'm just not really going to be zooming right into where I want it to be. But if I go back to Tools and Options in Corel, when I'm working with this vector stuff real close, so I turn this back into center when zooming, I'm going to hit cancel. Center, not calibrate rulers. I want to select OK. And I'll zoom in. Now you can see I can zoom in right at where I'm working. And here I'll get the ellipse tool, and I'll start at the top where I believe right about where the corner will be, and I'll just drag across that ellipse. And then I'll go back to my shape tool and I'll just bring that in. And I can see that that's not like, it's not like a perfect circle. So the first thing I need to do here is convert this to curves. There we go. Now I got 4 nodes all the way around. And I can bring that down here and bring this up here. And I did need to convert to curves there, which I forgot to do. Because if I do that, when I'm not, I'll go back and show you what happens. If I do that without converting to curves, and I start moving this node, I start getting pie shapes and things like that. But if I come up here and convert to curves, then I get 4 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can make the adjustments. And I can bring this in here just a bit and do the same thing here and get that shape of the outline perfectly. And then what I'll do is I'll just come here to the left and I'll start moving, and I can hold down my shift key, and that'll start realigning that. Right click one time, shift key holding down, and release that, and I'll change that to a red so you can see that. And I'll do the same thing here to a red. Let me hit Control Z and we'll do that over just so you can see how I did that. I've got my cursor over here. I hold down the shift key, and you can see that change to an X. Now when I start moving, I'm going to right click one time. Let me do that again. Hold down my shift key, right click one time, you can see the plus sign show up. Now what I'm doing is I'm replicating or duplicating to the center because I'm holding down the shift key. And I can bring this right to where I want it and release it. And then right click one time, there's red. Actually select both of these, that's red. And then this, if I want to make some adjustments, it seems like it should be a little bit higher here and a little bit higher there. That's fine. Select both of these and come up here and click on Combine. That's my O, duplicate, and save that. Now for my N, I'll go ahead and get my end cap again. I'll take this end cap and I'll go ahead and rotate this, holding down Control to constrain that. I'll bring this over here and I can see that this would be going from right there to right there. Now here I can see that this is a little bit wider, so I can come over to my Shape tool, double click here, just lasso these three and move them over into position. And then bring this down, left click, hold, bring this all the way down to the bottom. Right there. For that end. And then what I'll do is, I'll go ahead and get another one of my end caps here. And I'm saying end, not end. Get an end cap right here and bring this up. Just hit this and I'll go to B, centered on the bottom. B for bottom, that aligns it to the bottom. C for center, that's all set. Now this is centered based on the top. I'll just bring this and push this over until I see that dark blue line right down the center there and release that. And I'll do the same thing over here and release that. Now at that point I'm really close, but I can see that I need to come in just a tiny bit of a tad here. And then I'll do is select both of these for the end selected, and I'll come up here and click on Weld. Now I'm going to have some nodes here, but I'll just go ahead and select all of these, lassoing, left click, hold down, lasso, release, right click on this, I'll change this to line. Same thing with this line segment, right click to line. Now if I want to move this over, I can just select these nodes. Now where you get extra nodes, if you want to, you can clean those up, just lasso those. Go ahead and hit the delete key on your keyboard, right click and to line. You want to make sure you're on that line segment, to line. Now I can select all of this here and just bring this over a bit there, just like that, and you'll see that's been brought over. Now I can do the same thing over here on the other side of the end, just bring this over. But in this case, all I'm going to do is duplicate this right here, and then I'm just going to mirror, and then mirror again, and bring this over. And I've got that set in position or place. Now if something looks like it's off a little bit, I can just get my Shape tool, and we can left click and just bring this back over in position, holding down Control. I can select, say, lasso just one node, and just take this arm and bring that over a little bit. And then for the actual end itself, I can do that with the Bezier tool. That's really easy because that's just straight lines. And just bring that right up into there like that, and then just click off, create my own shape. We'll change that to red. And then I'll take everything that's here once again, and I'll duplicate this just so I've got the parts if I need them to work with, say for other letters, and we'll go ahead and select Weld. Then we'll come in here and we'll take a look, and we'll see in here we're going kind of strong here in the arch here, but that's really easy to deal with the shaping tool. So I'll come up here, just drop a node, say right here, and then we'll delete here. And we can see that's going to kind of take care of itself. We'll pull some of this in, and then we'll pull some of this down this way, and just get that shape correct. And we'll make sure that we do the same thing down here. Drop a node here, lasso this node, hit the delete key, and smooth that right out, and there's our end. Now obviously the T is going to be really easy because all we're going to do is take one of our end caps here. I'll start with the bottom, just bring this over, and then we'll come in and just set this up in position. That's a little bit wide, just left click, move over, change the shape. Go ahead with our shaping tool, and we'll left click all these nodes here, and we'll just go ahead and start moving them up, holding Control to constrain them. And then I can go ahead and I can take this T area here. Now normally I'd be doing this quite a bit faster, but because we're in a video and I'm explaining everything, it's taking a little bit longer here. But you can see I'm just resizing all of this to the correct size and position for the T. And I take this again, move this over, go ahead and mirror this up here in the properties bar horizontally. Take these two and weld them together, make sure they're centered, select the top and the body of the T, hit the C key, make sure everything's centered, weld, and that's all traced with shapes and it's nice and clean. Then I can select everything and I can go ahead and take these over here and let's say go ahead and weld these in the properties. Fill with black, take the outline off, and you can see what an absolutely pristine, clean trace I have working with shapes as opposed to working with the Bezier tool. And working with things like, say, the G, here I can take the O, which is a shape that I was working with, and I can resize that down to, say, the size of this G. You can see we've got pretty much the same shape, but it's kind of a little bit more oblong there until I'm happy with where my positions are. And then I can do something like take the Bezier tool, just come through here this way, and I can see that this is going to come off here like this. And just to make a shape to cut that out of that O that you can see there, select both of them, come to the top, front minus back. Go ahead and get my end caps here. Get my end cap, this one I'll take. I can see there's quite a bit smaller here, so I can just bring this down. And I'll bring this over here to start with. Holding down Control to constrain that so it's nice and straight. Take this and bring this down to where I think it's going to be about the right size. And I'll go ahead and get my Shape tool again, left click, and I'll bring this over to where this end is here. I can see this is going to hit here and it's going to come down. So looking at it, I can see that there's some end cap, it seems it appears there also. So I can take this same end cap and I'll go ahead and rotate this holding down Control, and I'll bring this right up into, say, right there. And then I can take my Shape tool again and just bring this down, working with shapes right there. And then from here, once I've got all of this set up, I'll take a look at this and bring this over. Now if I take this and I hit, say, R for right alignment, it's going to line to the end of the end cap, and I don't want to do that, so I'll have to eyeball this coming in here. And you can see the little line up here, and you can usually just center that right up there, just like that. And I'll select both of these, and just in case I need them, I'll duplicate them again. I'll select this, and the G, and I'll go ahead and weld these for now. And I'll see that I've got some area that I need to work on here, but I can just lay down a node here, and then, double click. That creates a node on the line segment. Select these three with a lasso using the Shape tool, delete that, and then come over here, and you can see that this control arm is out quite a bit, but I'll bring this right over here and I get my shape the way I need it. Now this is nice and smooth down here. I can just left click and bring this down a little bit, and that'll change that shape. If I need to make an adjustment over here, I can do that with the control arms, etc., and just tweak that right in. Now up here it looks like I really didn't give myself enough room for my end cap, but we'll see how we'll fit that in there. Same thing with the end cap. Now here, if I rotate holding down Control, I'm going to be constrained, and I'm not really going to end up exactly where I want to be. I'm very close there, but I want to be a little bit more. And I can see that that's just a little bit bigger. But what I want to do is, before I even start with that, I want to change. So I was hitting Control Z there to go back. I want to bring this down in size to right about something like that, so it's going to fit on the end there nicely. And then I'll go ahead and rotate that to where it's at the same angle as what's happening here. And I can just line that up. And then I can just resize that to where it's going to fit in there correctly. Kind of like right about there, as you can see, and that gives me that nice end cap in there. Select both of these, the rest of the G and that end cap, weld those together, and then if I've got some problems here, once again, go to the Shaping tool, just go ahead and delete this. Do the same thing here, and I'll get rid of these two here. Get rid of that there, and there would be my G. Now I can see this looks like it's off a little bit here, so I can just select these nodes, left click, and just holding down Control, push those up, and that's my G. Nice and clean and fast, and I'm not finagling with the nodes with the Bezier tool, etc. Something like the U, I'll go ahead and get an end cap again, and I'll just mirror this vertically this time, and I'll keep this over here for now. And then what I'll do with this is, you can see that this is a U here, but I can make this very easily working with a rectangle shape. So I'll go ahead and get a rectangle here, and I'll just make this the same shape as what I've got on the U, but I'll be quite a bit higher. And then I'll go to the Shape tool, and I'll left click and just pull that U shape, those corners up, so that they're correct on the U. Now I start higher so that I'm not having this curving happening down here in the U. And you can see the shape that I've got there. Now I can bring this back up and kind of line it up. I'll change that outline, right click, change that to a red, go back to the shape tool and just smooth that out a little bit more, as you can see right there. And then I'll do the same thing on the inside of the U. And I'll start up higher because I don't want that shape to be affecting the bottom there. We'll change this to a red, and I'll come up here to Shape Tool, and I'll just go ahead and pull this all the way up because that looks like it's just coming all the way to the end. And then I can set this up right about where I think it would be. Go ahead and hit the C key to center that. Now I can see it looks like that's coming down a little bit more, so I can just left click and push that down. And we want to zoom in here and push that down. And I want to change that to a curve. Control Z. Let's change that to a curve first. That way when we push that down, it's going to change the shape. And I can bring this up a little bit, just to about right there, and then bring that into position. And that would be for my U. And I can just bring that up just a little bit right there, I think. Go ahead and hold down Shift, select both of these. Here we go to a combine. Go to the rectangle tool, come down here, and we'll have that rectangle selected. We'll select the body of the U, holding down Shift. Come over here, front minus back, that gets rid of that. Bring this end cap over here, put that in place, and see what we're dealing with on lines. Now, one of the things you can also do is you can go to View and Wireframe, and you can see right where that line is, and then bring that right in like that. And then you can zoom in here and see where that is, working the wireframe, and resize that right to the perfect position. And when I did that, that changed things over here a little bit, and bring this in here like you can see there. Now you've got that all lined up working in wireframe. You can go back to View, Enhanced, and you see the regular lines, and then we can just left click, hold down, right click one time, that duplicates while we're moving, hold down Control, move that over. Once again here, we can go to View and Wireframe, so we just see that the wires that we're working with, making sure everything's lined up and that it's the right size and right width, and then just bring this in to the correct size here. And do the same thing over here on the other side. And that push that out a little bit over here, and we'll just go ahead and push that in that way. And now we're looking good. I'm just going to go ahead and select that, and I'll select this and select this top. Now I've got three objects select. I'll go to View and Enhanced, and then we'll go ahead and click on Weld. Now if I've got any line segments in here I want to deal with, just to get rid of any jaggedness or anything like that, I can just delete these, right click, and then change these line segments to a line. We'll do the same thing over here, select all that. Lassoing, left click, hold down, release, lasso, and then we'll right click to line and to line. Now dealing with something like our C, what I'll do is I'll take the G and bring that over, and I can see that the G is really close to the C. So what I'll do is I'll take and pull this out this way, and I can take my shaping tool and just bring these down here a little bit, drop a note over here, delete that up there, and we just want to smooth things out here a little bit so that we've got that shape of that C. Drop a note here, and then I'll go ahead and delete here, and that'll smooth that right out for me. And I'm not happy with this, so I'm just going to pull that down a little bit, and I'm going to bring this up over this way just a little bit right there. Now looking at this C again, what I'll do is I'll make a custom shape with the Bezier tool. I'll come through here, and I'm just going to come in here and just make a shape around this. And I'm working with different shapes just so that you can see how I work with these. Now you can see what I did there. When I started with that G, I didn't duplicate that. So what I meant to do is I'm going to take this, copy this now, because if I did that by accident, and sometimes I don't like to take my videos out of my accidents out of my videos just so you can see how I would deal with that. And I'll just hit Control Z until that G is back, and then I'll hit Control V to paste that back in with the adjustments I made on the C. Then I'll go back to the Bezier tool, and I'll just go ahead through here, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a shape around this, And I'll go back to my shape tool. I'm going to do this a little bit bigger here. And I'm just going to select both of these. I'm going to select back minus front, and I'm going to take this C here and see if that's going to fit right back in, which it's going to right about there. So I didn't have to do all that work. Select both of these, weld, see if I've got issues here with nodes. And what I'll do is I'll drop some nodes in here. And these nodes, really what they do is they preserve the flow or the arch or the curving. And then where I've got these here, I'll go ahead and delete these. And then I'll just lighten that up and clean that up. And there's my C. Now, an S can be kind of tough sometimes because you're looking at it and you've got this curving shape. And in this case, you know, many times you'll have to do this working with the Bezier tool. But what I'll often do on an S is I'll actually start from the center, and you'll see what I mean here. And I'll actually create the shape of the S working from the center of the S. And I want to change this to a red, so I'll right click here just so you can see what I'm doing here. And come down through this way, because I don't want to do all the work of tracing around the outline of the outside of the S. And I'll just go through and I'll just lay my basic nodes down here, and we'll get to the point where we've got the basic shape of the S. And then I'm going to come through and do some tweaking with the nodes and just smoothing things out. So I've got a nice shape of my S. I just laid down a node there and then delete this one. You'll see that line will smooth out. If I drop a node down here, say, double click, and you'll watch I delete this and that'll smooth out. And this I'll go ahead and get rid of, and that'll smooth out. And I can bring this up and change that arch there. Drop another node here, delete this, and see that line segment smooth right out. I'm just shooting for the center of the S. S's sometimes are a little bit more difficult to trace than some of the other shapes. And make sure it comes out nice and smooth here. Now at this point, with this selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to, let's say, 0.8. That's too much. 0.4 seems to be close. Let's try 6 point. Go to 6, hit enter. 6 seems to be too much. We'll go to 5, hit enter, and that gives us really close on the shape of our S. And then what I'll do is I'll go to arrange and convert outline to object. And then I can start to make some adjustments here. The first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and select everything that's in this S. I'll go to node reduction, and you can see I'm getting rid of some nodes. I just want to reduce those down, and then I've got the nodes here, and I can start to make adjustments to the shape of the S with the nodes around the outline. And here I've got one I don't think I'm going to want. I'll go ahead and delete that. And then up in here we've got some more going on. I'll drop a node here and delete this, and then just work my way around the shape of the S until I'm satisfied. Now here again I can go to view wireframe while I'm tracing and see what I'm really dealing with. Drop a node here, go ahead and delete that, and I'm working in wireframe mode right now, and bring this up, say, right into there. And I can pull this up this way and just shooting for what's the center of these pixels going around here. This here I can bring in this way a bit, this I can bring over here just a little bit, bring this down, etc. Because the S's, you know, they change the width as they go around here. You can see this is kind of thinner down here and thicker up here, but this is really pretty good going right through here. I might want to come out a little bit right there, and then we'll bring this in up here just a bit, and we can bring this up here a bit. We can drop a node here. We can delete this node here, and I don't think that's going to really upset things. Not if I hit Control Z, I can see how much. Drop a node there just to. What this does is this anchors this curve segment here when I drop this node. So if I delete this and then move this up, and I'm going to go ahead and delete this also and move that up, and you can see how that's affecting that and straighten that out. Once again, sometimes the S's are a little bit more difficult. And then I'll go to view and I'll go to enhanced again, and then I can come in with my end caps again on my S. I want to get the pick tool here, bring this over, zoom in and rotate this. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually, before I rotate, I'm going to go ahead and bring these nodes up right up and just kind of butt them right in. And then I'm going to rotate this. Now I can rotate this and I can see the line right there. You can see how I've got the angle set up, and that's going to be just fine. I'll go ahead and move this over here. Take this here and bring this down in size so that it seems to be fitting there very well. Once again, view wireframe when I really want to see what's going on, and I can see how close I am there, especially on the angles right there. And then I'll go ahead and do the same thing here, but I'll go ahead and mirror this vertically, then horizontally, same angle, same thing as you can see right there, and rotate this just a little bit so it's about the same. Go back to view and enhanced, go ahead and select all three of these, and then we'll just go ahead and weld these. Go ahead and take the outline off and I'll fill that with red, and then I'll go in here and see what's going on here. Take my shape tool, drop a node here, and then I'll go ahead and delete these, and that'll smooth out. Do the same thing here, drop a node here, go ahead and delete that. That'll smooth out. Do the same thing here if I think I have an issue. This is very close here, but that'll smooth out. This here, drop a node. You can see that little bump right there. Just select all those nodes, lasso, delete. That'll smooth it right out, and there's my S. And then I can go ahead and select all of these if I want to, holding down Shift. And we can weld these, fill them with red, right click, take the outline off if there is one, and there's some of the other letters. So you can see how I construct from shapes. Now what's interesting here, if you look at manually, what I wanted to show you here was when you're working on tracing here, if you've got something like the N, you'll notice it's the same as the U. So all you do is create the N, flip it, and you'd have the U. Different font, but different strategy. So a little bit of a long tutorial here, 30 minutes. I probably would have done this a lot faster if I wasn't explaining everything as I'm going along, but I just wanted to give you some of these tips and tricks on how to manually trace your fonts working in CorelDRAW for your production artwork projects. We'll go ahead and wrap here, and we'll see you in our next video.